Hello guys, it's Kurushi Drive, and this video is going to be one of my first rant videos with a new series of rant videos based on just in anticipation of how BlazBlue cross-type battle is going to affect the popularity of UNIEL specifically. So many people are telling me like, yeah, I know BBTAG is coming out and I really want to get into UNIEL because I love the characters, so how do I get into it? Well, my first answer is you can't really get into it unless you really understand how anime fighters should be learned, okay? So this is what this video is basically gonna go over, right? So one, we're gonna learn like how to learn an anime fighter if you're coming from a 3D fighter like Capcom or a traditional versus fighter like Marvel vs. Capcom, or what other versus fighters are there? I don't even know. Anyway, if you're coming from those type of games, it's definitely gonna be a big jump because they're very different types of games. After all, like, there's not a lot of similarities between air dashers, especially anime air dashers, and 3D, what we would call Capcom or SNK type air dashers, or even just traditional fighting games that involve the slow footsies and all those stuff. But before I get any further away from what I'm trying to talk about, we're just gonna begin. So where do I start if I'm trying to learn an anime fighter? So first, as usual, as you would do with any other fighting game, you're going to learn the basics. You're going to learn the mechanics. You're going to learn mechanics using one of the easier characters, maybe a Shoto character. In this case, we'd probably use Keto Hyde because he is the Shoto character of UNIEL, and or UNIST, doesn't really matter. But you're going to learn the mechanics through an easy character. Then after you learn the mechanics, you're going to learn the character tech for the specific character you want to learn. In this case, I just recommend starting easy, not necessarily going to a high-level character like Vodista or Yuzuriha. I know a lot of people like Yuzuriha, and she is really fun to play, I will admit, but I don't really recommend it if you're just starting out, especially if you're coming from a Capcom fighter. And then after you learn the character tech, you want to learn, I highly recommend you learn block strings, because without block strings, you can't really start anything good from combos. I mean, sure, you can learn a combo or two, and I'd say actually do watch a combo video, a basic combo one, of course, and make sure that you understand the theory and the methodology of the combos. So, like, what is the goal of this combo? What is the optimization route? What is the end result? Like, am I going to get a knockdown? Am I going to get okizeme? Am I going to get damage extending so I can close the round, etc.? Okay, and if you do end up learning combos third, then I recommend you learn just bread and butters. Don't learn anything complex. You can go for that much later when you've completely mastered the character, or you hit the wall, and the wall that everyone actually runs into. I've run into it myself on Linne, and still trying to figure out what optimized combos I can use in matches. But anyway, the point is you should learn, if you're going to learn a combo, maybe learn one basic combo so that you'll be able to figure out how you're going to use that combo in a match. You know what technology you're going to use from your character, or what mechanics you're going to use to make sure that you can outsmart your opponent in those things, and apply that knowledge into a match. Number three, after you've learned maybe a basic combo, definitely go, as I just said right now, learn block strings. Please learn block strings. Block strings in anime fighters are really important. And if you don't know a simple block string, like even just 5A, 5B, 5C into 2A, 2B, 2C, or reverse beat block strings, you really need to know how to do that, because you're going to be finding yourself using that so much, especially if you're going to do 5C reverse beat into 2A. A lot of characters 5Cs have a lot of range, and you can't just use 5C raw and expect to not be punished, because after all, you're going to be like -8 on block. I know Linne's 5C is definitely like something like -9 if you use it raw, and if you do reverse beat, you're -3 or something. But that -3 really makes a big difference, especially because the space you have, or the space you're allowed to have in between you and your opponent, is important to make sure that your 5C is canceled anyway, because if it's not canceled, who knows, maybe you can still be punished. I mean, good for you if you're not punished, but 5C reverse beat 2B, or excuse me, 2A, very useful stuff to know. So yeah, block strings, what have we covered? Lastly, I'd say number 5, learn hit confirms. Hit confirms, again, it's just basically know the combo routes, know the combo theory, know the goal of what you're trying to do with each of your combos. I'd say number 6, let's say learn the matchups. I mean, by the time you've reached number 5, you probably know a lot about your character. I'd say you have intermediate knowledge level, and you're probably midway reaching the skill ceiling that you need to reach in order to be a high level player using the character that you're trying to use. So let's say I'm trying to learn Byakuya, and I've learned his technology. I've learned how to set play web traps. I've learned how to do my Okizeme after I get a knockdown. I've learned how to bait DPs. I've learned how to reverse beat, because you really do need to with Byakuya. I've learned chain shift confirms. I've learned reversals. I've learned how to make sure I can use the universal mechanics, like when to use veil off, when to use his reversal super, when to use anything else, guard thrust, etc. So you've learned all that. You need to learn the matchups, because basically, if whatever you do, no matter what you do with your character, the matchup is going to influence it. And if you're not adjusting according to the matchup, then you're losing all that potential you can have with that character in order to play them to what they're capable of against another certain character. So let's say I'm playing as Yuzuriha versus a Nanase. Nanase doesn't have a chance against Yuzuriha, especially if you're a good Yuzuriha, right? So in that case, it's like, all right, I don't need to specifically be afraid of this matchup, because I know that in general, or in theory, I can beat Nanase. But if you're like Yuzuriha versus, let's say versus Seth, because Seth is absolutely insane right now, right? So you want to make sure you stay out of his orbs. Obviously, you want to make sure if you can hit them, you want to get rid of them. If you can dodge some of his swipes, whatever his pokes, I don't know if he has any real pokes, maybe dash 5A. If you can dodge those, avoid those using teleports, using bateaus, etc., you'd be good, right? But otherwise, you're in pretty big trouble, because Seth has a ton of mobility, has a ton of utility now, and you don't really want to be on his bad side, because he can get 3k off of anything, really, plus orb setup, and that's not really fair for a Yuzuriha player. So that said, you want to learn matchups, and you want to make sure you learn one matchup at a time. I'd say learn one matchup a month, and make sure you find a really good player for that character, so that you can actually learn what you can get better at in terms of countering them. And make sure you also ask them for advice on your character if they have any advice on theirs. I think that's standard stuff, though. You can apply that to any fighting game in general. And number 8, I'd say learn all the rest of the combos you haven't learned. So learn the final optimization. This is really, like, optimized combos, cannot stress this enough. This is really what separates the good players from the great players, or the great players from the high level players, or the high level players from the pro players, okay? You really need to know optimized combos, when to use a certain combo route, and how to make sure that you can take that hit confirm, convert it to a combo, then use that to get back to your technology, meaning like end with an Okizeme, right? If you end your combo with a place where you can start applying Okizeme, then you'd be able to effectively keep control of the match's tempo, and I think that's very important to take into account when you're playing any character, really, or playing any fighting game. I think, yeah, as I said earlier, I think you can apply all this knowledge to any fighting game, but specifically for UNIEL, please learn in that order. I feel like that's the best order, and that's the advice I use for everyone who's new to this game, and I hope that can really help you figure out how to learn this game. I think I'll be doing a follow-up video where I'll actually be commentating while playing, but this video is just, I guess, an introduction or a teaser to a new series I might be starting for teaching new UNIEL players or incoming BBTAG players who want to get into UNIEL, or UNIST, what doesn't matter, in order to feel actually a part of the characters. And I understand how you want to feel about that. And if you don't want to feel that, then, you know, I just say don't worry about trying to learn UNIST or UNIEL. I mean, it's a good game. It's not that hard to learn, but it also might not be the best use of your time, considering especially that the game is centered around BlazBlue anyway. So I'd say it's better to learn BlazBlue than it is to learn UNIEL, but of course if you play UNIEL or UNIST characters, then it's definitely a good idea. So with that, thanks for watching, and I hope you can catch my next video, if I make one. Depends on how many people are interested on actually applying these steps that I just mentioned.